September 22nd, 2017. Emancipator. Soon it will be cold enough. Tycho. Discography. Flying Lotus. Cosmogram. You're dead. J Dilla. Donuts. Madlib. Shades of Blue. Fortet. Pause. Hands. 2814. September 28th, 2017. The Ward. Being released. Broken key fixed. Going to the cafe. Meeting. Following me outside a restaurant in a different city. Nail chewing lady reading a key to light book on the plane to A. Collected woman reading Beyond Fear of the Flight back to P. How to devolve that story. September 28th, 2017. I saw the eyes behind the eyes, you see, clear as day. The pixelated halos around the eyes gave them away, I said. Right. And so they said hello, did they? Asked Henry. I nodded. You wouldn't think they would, but since then it's been a non-stop occurrence of connections between me and these people, I said. Henry smiled, his eyes betraying a sense of compassion I hardly enjoyed. He wore that look often when he was working with the old folks who had lost their marbles, mostly when he wiped mashed potatoes from their chins as they ate. It was his "you're forgiven" look. I clenched my fist. How do you explain the guys at the convention? I asked. Henry shrugged. What did they do again? Asked Henry. I waved my arms wide open in front of myself. They came out of the effing bushes, and the guy yelled, "You'll always be nothing," and his friends pulled him back behind the bushes. They left me sitting there at the piano like it was nothing at all, I said. Henry nodded. Do you think it could have been due to your piano playing? You know you're not very good, said Henry, that look returning to his eyes. I faltered, one hand falling to my side. Well, it could have been, but who the hell needs to be pulled back behind some bushes after doing something like that, I asked. October 2017. October 2nd, 2017. Homeless, not hopeless. Create a second line of work that doesn't include print files. Use the moniker. Learn a second set of handwriting to use as lettering. Fix the printer. Paste up on canvas before trying. Start with namesake in this one. See how well they turn out. Asterix carrying an iPhone. October 8th, 2017. Sky is blood red. Hat-wearing guy and shorter smiling lady meet with me by some chain-link fence. He offers me weed, which I decline. 2 years sober, I say. He seems disappointed, faltering for a moment. But his hands drop and the weed disappears. We walk along the chain-link fence, standing around a concrete pit. Used to be a pool, but is long empty. The ladder on the side of the pool is missing, having rusted off. Just the handles remain, shining in the sunlight. It's late afternoon and the skies are orange and deep goldenrod. I'm standing by the edge, looking down, butterflies on my stomach at the height of it. The man and the others I can't see, but can hear, whispering to each other, stand behind me, telling me to get in the pit. There's chain-link fence all around the pit. The man says I need to thread the needle. He throws something larger than the space between the links in the fence, something red and made of plastic fiber like a pool noodle, and it passes through one of the holes cleanly and without effort. It's orange-red in the sunlight. Like he says, he's smiling to himself, a hard, mildly smug smile. His circular brimmed hat covers his eyes. Distracted by the man's antics, I've turned away from the pit. Suddenly, someone, the lady smiling, had kneeled behind me, and suddenly I'm over her as I fall backwards into the pit. There's no sense of falling. I'm just in the grime, layering the bottom of it, lying with half my face in the muck. It's warmed by the sun overhead. I look up. The pit is too tall to reach the broken, rotting steps at the edge of the pool. I wake up, still dreaming, in my bed under a red blanket. My phone is hanging overhead, attached to the blanket, with the camera facing towards me. The flashlight is glowing brightly. I wake up again. 10:13:17. I'm at M's at A, trying to get ready for the trip back home. I go to pack my bag. It's black, but the lining is silver fabric. Inside the bag is an upended bottle of blue nail polish, which has spread all over the inside of the bag. I remove the bottle from the bag and start trying to clean it up. It's reacted with the fabric inside the bag and moves like a sticky honey, but cleans up. There's a leftover blue shimmer inside the bag. I'm getting flustered since I can't find my clothes. I yell out to her I'm going to be late for my flight before heading to the garage. I find Dan in there sitting in his blue robe on a pale blue plastic container upended to be his seat. He's sitting in front of the older style CRT television, and a PlayStation 3 sits there on concrete next to him. What are you doing? I ask. Oh, not much. Just looking at the pictures of wrestling with you and Kay as children. He flips open a photo wallet, and pictures fall out of it, enough to form a small movie of us play wrestling on the carpet. The movie stops, and Dad points towards the PS3. You didn't break the PS3, so that's good. Wake up saying no, no, no again. October 20th, 2017. Car radio stations. 94.7, 105.9, 89.9, 92.3, 101.5, 101.9. October 22nd, 2017. For the weighted neural computer, it starts with the base value, which is actually two numbers, the preceding value of the late day, of the last day, /week, /year, and the initial value of one person at position X, Y, Z. Each action is asked, does this happen next with a yes/no value? No values negate the value because only the yes is needed for this run. Only one action can happen at one time per unit. Compounded actions are given a new value and counted as one value. They are added to the value of the duration of the action as well. The possible next actions are lined up as values after it with a yes/no negation variable before each item. Eventually you get chains of completed action. Those actions are then made into sets of chains to be correlated for a given unit. If those chains diverge, a new chain is created and added to the set. This gives you the odds of a given action leading to a known chain and the options most likely to happen if it were to diverge. Break the units into their known quantities and their known sets and before they interact with anyone. Unless they interact as their first action, then the data equation is slightly more complex because an interaction adds a multiplier pause/neg, pause/pause, neg/pause, pause/pause value that determines each leading unit's value. Each item being valued has these variables to check as well, but each interaction multiplies the value to give weight to each next action because the effect is additive, or at least compounded, but the more often the type of emotional reaction is experienced. If a unit is having a negative arc, for example, it will give actions with a potential negative addition a higher chance of happening, or it will feel like they are also negatively lit if they have been shown to occur after a given set of previous actions, the formulation of a bad mood. Because the world is given an X, Y, Z grid, and any action only occurs for a potential duration, those items are easily to run. Predicting where an item is heading is the end goal of it all. To predict possible answers, we must know all values possible for all given actions limited by known quantities of an item. For example, a missile speeds up as it gets lighter as fuel burns, so we know that there are known stages of speed given a known amount of fuel burn rate. To find the extreme radius, we will need to determine all burn rate stages and determine the acceleration gain for each burn rate value. Also, any slowing from changes in direction / travel through thicker atmosphere. This isn't an unknown quantity, so it doesn't need to be pulled apart. All possible values, all determined durations, you're either maintain speed, slowing or accelerating, you're staying in that direction or turning at any given degree on a 360 degree field. If it is greater than 180 degrees, then it is reversing direction and can be reevaluated as negative 180 degrees value to differentiate between initial direction and new direction. Two negative 180 degree negatives means the unit is traveling in the same direction as was before. This changes when partial turns are given. Knowing the initial travel gives weight to the supposed next travel, given that you're more likely to turn if traveling at speed than to stop and reverse. Though the chances of doing either is equal in proper numbers, there is always a bias towards one move or another given enough known factors like terrain or need for the next item or goalpost. You're going to go from one tuna can, one aisle over, you get the olives in this action. If the past references show that you're likely to go to a certain path, they are played first, and any divergence is written as a new value until the set is completed, and that set is added to the culmination of all given sets as the number of times they have been completed gives their current probability. But they always start with a known value first if possible. You always must enter the store's selling influence to shop there. So J, figure out the types of interaction to start. Physical, electronic, interpersonal, personal. That may be it. You can break that down into any combination of actions into these four types or combinations thereof to make the numbers run faster. More options with less variables compute faster because it can kill more units. More unknown variables by refuting certain lists. What you need to do is make an app that tells people to put what they do into the app. Track their location through the app to determine their location. Ask their emotional response to the interaction for each item. Reward them by offering gift cards for honest answers. So how to hide the lead for the real person of the software. The real reason of the software. Build an app to track your progress throughout the day of goals achieved, track where and when the actions are completed. Have them start the app out by explaining their basic day. Yes, ask them to be in depth. Like, did you have breakfast? What did you have for breakfast? When do you have breakfast? Did you finish your breakfast? Offer them help as they need it before they ask. If they say no, the set had changed, so it's a deviation. Build a machine to learn the human types available to the tech and incorporate their calendars into the app. Update it hourly so things stay relatively in sync to changes. 5 to 15 minutes would be more beneficial. Map their movements forever and then start to predict their motions. If you had access to microphone and camera, you could listen in and use word pattern recognitions to determine potential future movements. It's possible to build predictive models from known gained values if enough information is gathered. So how do you build what it is to predict? If it is a known data set, it aligns along that path until it diverges. Once it diverges, you need to take stock of known quantities to be taken logically while retaining all possible choices for variation's sake. If the next item is recorded, it puts weight to any next known steps of possible movement. If they turn left and step 3 times, the turn left and the corridor is the same distance as the previous, they will likely step 3 times minus the space needed to complete the turn. It becomes a system of straights and arcs with circles to determine action taken. So you can draw out the graphing system to build the net. Will it ask for this action? Yes, no, possibility. There are the 3 phases of will any action take place. Possibility set is of multiple actions could take place. Build a system like you would logic gates with operators and variables, and it becomes a simplified to design system. For instance, a person reaches for a can of tuna on the shelf. Does their hand strafe the line of cans before selecting the wanted object? This is a yes or no question. Possibility would make the numbers less consistent. Breaking down any action until it becomes a yes-no question is needed. The possibility function depends on if they reached for the right item on the first go, or if their arm reaches for that level to the left or to the right of that item. Then it would be possibly yes, which breaks into a yes-no value, which means it can be negated to if it's a no. Possibly if it's a self-regulated regulatory function, to fact-check if the item is happening, it would have leading questions like did X and N occur? If not, then the percentage of it occurring changes towards negative or positive value. If it reaches a certain threshold, then it is least likely to happen. It is least likely to happen and can be overridden as a no after a set duration. Duration of an action must have minimums and maximums once measured, and it is under the minimum. It is either not possible or the new minimum is achieved. All durations are started with a 0 value changeable by new data. A data set kept for all unknown minimum and maximum durations and averages durations shall be kept to be used as reference. A table with all possible durations between should be kept if needed to determine the most often expressed value ranges. Building this as a set of tables referencing each other with equations of probability and weight with values of known quantities. Using these tables would be the best bet for getting it to work. So you would need a location table, probably an injected algorithm, a duration min-max possible emotional response table, the baseline algorithm denoting the action taking place plus its represented value. So it's did this happen plus location plus emotional response plus valued action. Perhaps putting the duration at the bottom of the action would let you create fractional responses that would give more unique values more often. If so, that also means that an item has to have a duration of any length other than 0 to be usable. Does it negate the yes-no function by forcing duration to be the yes-no function? Seems so. Yes, it would be useful to place it under the function because values of x over 0 regulate to 1. So no, it's not worth doing that for that specific case because it adds unnecessary numbers to the equation. So what would you use as values of an action taken? I'll need to read calculus limits, materials, and probability finding enough unique values to tag each action. Or would irrational numbers be better? A positive interaction produces a positive integer. A negative interaction produces a negative integer. So you would break the human body down into sections with their own value, which would be added to the value before being expressed so you could predict natural movements. Natural movements are as follows: bend, reach, step, grasp, release, sit, lay, stand, add item, remove item. So each action asks if the unit is alive with a yes-no value. Perhaps it would be worth giving death the 0 time value, so you could have an end clause to the algorithm. If 0, then all actions cease from that point onwards, plus any last remaining actions if movement happens after death. Give each unit being measured a unique number and each action a decimal value to the decimal value, where the total number of actions taking place cannot exceed 1 when added likely in the millions range. Making that at a billionth value means that it'll approach a certain threshold limit. October 25th, 2017. The illness kept coming until he was delegated to a 4-bedroom prison which he could no longer enjoy leaving. He died lonely and adverse to the risk of leaving lest it strike again. November 26th, 2017. Being bothered in a cafe. Being followed in a store. So can you feel us, huh? The piano incident, the movie theater, the restaurant, traveling out of town to visit family and hearing stuff on the radio being mentioned in the front of the stadium. The come with me encounter, I've got a job to offer you, being led to an underground parkway, being introduced to a few of the group, the computer explained, there's going to be an attack within the next few weeks. What is plot B going to be? Why me? Why do you think? I have no answer to that. Then you don't need one. Plot B is the girlfriend being one of them, but not learned until later on. What sort of attack? Football nuke? No. Chemical. Nuclear is the next movie. I sit in my room, get lonely so that I go to the cafe for a coffee and get a jar of oatmeal. The end of the book, sitting in my room and going to the cafe to meet my girlfriend who's become my partner. Of course, that's just a story. Hi everybody. So I've made a new store called animalquest.shop and I made my first shirt, Barkland Reading, at the Amberstone's house. And I would ask that you go and buy those there. I'll make a few bucks each time you buy something from there. And I have men, women's, baby clothing, and buttons, as well as other accessories, including dog bandanas, which I think are pretty cool. And I'll be adding more merch every week or two for that store as the stories progress and the sequels are written and read. I'll do the same for Divergent Mind. The link again is animalquest.shop. The link for Divergent Mind will be divergentmind.shop as well. Thank you so much. Jay. Okay, well, I'm taking a break, so I might as well do some ads. This is my first one, so bear with me. So, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. That's pretty cool. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And all you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Please visit anchor.fm/divergentmind to leave a message so that I may get back to you. Thank you. Have a nice day. So Anchor is asking me to ask you to support me financially. I would ask that you go to my Patreon to do that, which is patreon.com/divergentmind. It means you can either become a monthly subscriber at a different tier of $1 to $3 to $5. I'm not looking for a lot. I'm not asking for a lot. I'm not asking for anything. This is going to go to the end of my podcast. I don't like it when podcasts straight up ask you for money when I'm doing okay. Well, I'm not doing okay. I'm surviving now to the point that I can make this. I would love to be able to make improvements to this by, say, getting... So basically, I'm running off an iPad, and I would like to improve it by getting different things that would make it better. Maybe some headphones that monitor output, or a better mic, though the mic I got was from JWife, so I might not even use the better mic. You know what I mean? It's all about whatever I need at the time, but really it's just to get healthy again, because I'm currently over 300 pounds and I don't want to die that young. I would really like to be able to afford some vegetables, so I can go back to my vegetarian diet. Because being this big sucks. And I'm happy to sit in a chair all day, but I really got to walk my butt off, literally. So that's what the money would be for. It would be for healthy food, because I can't afford it. I can afford ramen and pasta and rice and beans, but I can't live on carbs, because that's how you get this big on antipsychotics. Junk food and carbs, which is just cheap and plentiful around me. So I would like to leave my house and just lose some weight. And to do that, I would like to go to the store and buy some vegetables, please. But you don't have to do anything. I'm not asking you to. I'm not begging. I'll figure it out on my own. Much pleasure, Jay. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that I have a YouTube channel called Taught Myself, and that I've decided to start selling merch already with a phrase that my brother showed me saying, "My disability is invisible," of which I made a hat for myself. So I decided to make hats, shirts, hoodies, for both men and women on Spreadshirt.com. All you have to do is search for "My Disability is Invisible." It's in green, and that's mine. You'll know it's me because when you click the sale icon, the same little Divergent mind icon comes up. And I hope you'll support me. I make about $5 per shirt or per sale. Everything else goes to Spreadshirt. But that's okay, because it's still a better deal than a lot of other places. And I really hope you'll support me. Come check me out on the YouTube. Teach me how to do that properly so I can have a community there too. And I await your response. Have a lovely day. Jay.
Hey people, take a listen to the Divergent Mind podcast. You get both insight into living with a serious mental illness and get to listen to a lovely tale about a journey cute little animals need to take. Don't miss out, and remember, divergent minds don't need to think alike.
Please go to ratethispodcast.com/divergentmind and tell me what you think. Thank you very much. Yours truly, Jay.